Hey, it's Frank again. I know I'm making a lot of videos at once. I'm just trying to separate them to categorize them sort of for myself, and so it's not one big video to try to find in the future. So this video, I'll be talking more about my breakup and my emotional health since then. I'll try to keep it under 20 minutes this time. Um, so September 9th was when my ex broke up with me. And since February last year, well, I guess technically since June of last year, which was when we were able to bring our son home from the hospital. He was born in February, but he had to stay at a hospital for so they could train us how to take care of him and everything until June. Um, we had a house for a year. We were living together for a year, and when we met, she had already had two kids with two different people. She was um, living with her mom. I was living with my mom. She asked me if I wanted to hang out one day, and no one had ever asked me to ever hang out, really, except for a friend or two that I had known since middle school. That we would just, we hang out a couple times, or we hung out a couple times. Um, and so she made a connection with me. She reached out to me to form a friendship, and from there I realized that I liked her and I wanted to continue to hang out with her, so we did. And then I eventually asked her if she wanted to go out. We started dating, and we were dating for 2.5 years, and we were both ready to move out from our parents' houses and try to make a life for ourselves. So we did. We bought a house, and um, when we found out that we were going to be able to close on this house, I thought it was the right time since we were so ready to make this big choice. I thought I could make another big jump, and I asked her to marry me. I did it actually right here where I am in this gazebo overlooking a pond. She loves Chinese food. Who doesn't, though? So I bought her Chinese food and I set it up on a table here, and um, I printed out fortunes. Um, and mine or hers said, "Will you marry me?" And mine said, "She will say yes." So um, I I made the fortunes and I put them in fortune cookies, and I sealed the wrapper back up. You couldn't even tell that anything had been done to them. So, and I tried to set up a camera over in the trees over there, but I royally failed because I hit the button twice instead of once. So I didn't get any of the proposal. And um, so uh, I opened mine first, and I was like, "Oh, I kind of like my fortune," and I gave her hers, and she almost just ate the whole thing. Actually, I put the ring in the fortune too, so when she broke it open, she could see it and be like, "Ah!" But she almost ate the fortune cookie, ring and fortune and all. I was like, "What are you doing? You gotta break open your fortune cookie first. That's the rules." So she did, and then I got down on one knee while she was looking at her fortune, and oh my god, I was shaking so much. I was so nervous, and she said yes, and we danced and we had a good time. Just right here in the gazebo, I had some romantic music playing. Um, and anyway, so I thought everything was great between us, and we moved into the house. We were there for a year. We had our own child and her two children, and I was great with them. I was happy to be able to help two young boys grow into men and teach them things. Um, and um, what else? We had a child, a house, we got married, and we were happy. And I don't know what went wrong. It could have been postpartum depression, it could have been regular depression, but 3 weeks before she broke up with me, I noticed that she was distancing herself from me. Um, she didn't want to have sex anymore. With the first sign that I noticed, which sometimes she was just in a mood not to do it, but she really was averse to doing it for those 3 weeks. And I asked her if she was okay constantly throughout those 3 weeks. And I asked her if it was a game, if she was playing hard to get, if she just needed to talk about something or something was going on that she that was making her avoid this. And she always said everything was fine. They don't want to talk about it. I kept pressing, but she didn't want to talk about it. So a week before she broke up with me, oh wait, no. Also, she would sleep on the couch instead of coming to bed. She worked overnight. I worked daytime. So when she got home from work, she was exhausted. So she said when she got home, she was just too tired, so she slept on the couch. Okay. She would say I was taking up too much of the bed. She slept on the couch. Okay, could have pushed me over like you do, like you normally do, but okay. She said that I was snoring, or that she found the couch more comfortable. All acceptable ideas, but it was just weird that all this was happening at the same time and she was acting funny. So, um, a week before she broke up with me, I started getting really depressed and I started isolating myself. I cut myself. I sat in a corner in a dark room in our bedroom for 3 hours. And she, throughout that whole week, that was the only time she came to ask me if I was okay. And when I told her, yeah, I'm fine, just sitting in a dark corner, she said, okay. And then she just walked away. She, she didn't press on me like I would have her. She didn't really seem to care about what I was feeling. And I couldn't take it one day, and on the ninth, and I went to her when she was waking up from a nap, and I said, I really want to talk about us because all these things that you're doing, it's making me feel like you don't love me anymore. And she took my hand and she said, Frank, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. It's not you, it's not some other guy. And I wouldn't have thought that, but that's, I mean, if she hadn't said that, I wouldn't have even thought about it. I would have thought, okay, these things happen, we can work through it. But she said it wasn't any other guy. Maybe I'm paranoid, but that made me think that it could have been a guy. But I didn't say anything at the time. I was already really depressed and I thought there was something wrong with me. So I just sort of accepted it and I just asked if there was anything I could do. She said no. She was very calm. Um, she seemed like she had been thinking about it for a while, even though she never mentioned it. And she didn't want to talk about it. She didn't want to go to therapy. She didn't want to try to stay together for a little bit and see what happened. She just 4 years. I don't love you anymore. Sorry. We have a house and a kid, and it's probably me avoiding my problems. But sorry, we're done. She didn't say any of that, but that's the gist. And it wasn't until a couple weeks later when I started telling my friends that they were like, you shouldn't have just taken that. Like, you can't just, like, they told me that they would have been mad. Like, that's it. Like 4 years and we're done. But I was in the bad headspace, and by that time it'd already been too late to be like that. And we had to keep living together for 2 months while she was moving back to her mom's house, and we were trying to sell our house. And after she had moved out, I still had to stay at the house until it sold, and then I moved back here to my parents' place. Um, but for those 2 months, it felt like we were still dating, but without the sex, because she wanted to still be friends and co-parents once she moved out, because there's because our son, and we would have to keep in touch. I mean, I wasn't about to abandon my son like a deadbeat or something. Um, Especially when he has the condition and she already has the two other kids. There's so many things, but um, I I just couldn't process it then, and I spent there were quite a few consecutive and non-consecutive days where she would allow me to cry on her shoulder for like half an hour, and I had hoped that me showing these feelings, and I tried to ask her again and again if it was me. If it wasn't me, then what was it? Do you have something going on that you want to talk about? And she always just said that there was nothing going on, which still confuses me, because how do you just break up with somebody and not knowing why? And the day that she moved out, like had finished moving out, I invited her over back to that. Well, actually, probably a couple of days after. Um, I invited her back over so she could get some rest for the kids, that I could watch them. She could take a nap, and I could cook them dinner, uh, a nice homemade dinner, uh, for friends' sake. And when she initially told me no, and she surprised me by coming over, and she had hickeys all over her neck, and it broke me. Um, I was so torn up about it. I was screaming, lying on the floor. I was punching my couch and my bed, trying to not punch the wall, because how do you do that? Like, when she was still living at the house, I asked her to just follow a couple rules: that she not date anybody while she's still living at the house, and that she not be naked around me unless she wanted to do like a friends with benefits thing. And I assumed that she was following those rules. And I don't know if she was or not, but I mean, the first rule. Um, but like, just as soon as she moved out, she was already seeing somebody. And so I had to turn, as I was lying on the floor, screaming and crying, I realized that I can't be like that. I can't be emotional, because I have to be able to move on. And so I sat up and I just stopped crying. And I didn't feel anything. And instead of being sad about it, it was replaced with anger at her, because that was the way I needed to move on. That, how the fuck could she do that to me? How could she be so careless with my feelings when she supposedly loved me? And so that was the thing. And um, so she left when she saw how emotional I was. That was before being on the ground screaming. And and she kept trying to be friendly with me anyway. Um, and then I would feel like I could open up to her and talk to her. And yes, I did send her a lot of messages before she moved out and after she moved out, um, that I just wanted an explanation for why she was leaving, because I couldn't move on until I knew why. Like, if it was something wrong with me, I wanted to know so I could fix myself. If it was anything I could control, and if it's something I wouldn't have been able to control, I would have wanted to know that too. So that way, I mean, I just wanted to know the truth. But she was not. She didn't want to be honest and open and communicative, and it drove me nuts. And so after she moved out, she still wanted to try to be friends, and I would open up to her and ask her, and of course, I asked her why some more, and I poured my heart out to her for those months, for like 3 months, and most of the time she just ignored them, and occasionally she asked me to not text her for a while, and I wouldn't, and then she would try to be friendly again. So she got so mad when I opened up to her because she wanted to be friendly, but how could I be friendly with you if you won't talk to me about how you were feeling about why you made this big decision that caused a rift between us? And so I would close myself off and I wouldn't talk to her except about our son. And he was primarily living with her at her mom's house because I was still at our house and I didn't have anything there to take care of him. And so I wouldn't even give her eye contact. I would give her short answers and focus on my son so I could move on. And she got mad about that. So I would open up a little bit and then I pour my heart out because I couldn't control my feelings. And then she got mad and I closed myself off and she got mad and it was a vicious cycle. And it doesn't look like it's going to be under a 20-minute video, but I I could not handle that. And it drove me to some pretty dark spots, but thanks to the help from my friends that didn't I didn't even know that friends could be like that. I had always seen it in shows and I thought, you know, I wish that were real. And apparently it is real. There are friends out there who will um, actually be there to console you and to help you move on. So that was really nice. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the video off there because there's another thing I want to talk about, but that's for a separate video. But since since we closed on the house, which was after my son's funeral, um, I haven't responded to any of her messages because she wished me a happy new year, and I just said whatever. I mean, I didn't text her back. I just was like, "Fuck you!" Like trying to be all friendly with me when you won't explain yourself. And yeah, so I'm gonna cut that off there. But thankfully, I've moved on from her.